Season 5, Episode number 3. Hello there, I'm Greg Mashburn, and I am the occasional podcaster. I'm a retired broadcaster, a news reporter, and an audio engineer. During my visits with community members, civic leaders, and city officials, we'll chat about the positive things going on in and around Muskogee and eastern Oklahoma. On this episode, we visit with Bryce Marshall. He is the director of the newly created Film Muskogee, a city entity devoted to attracting major movie projects to Muskogee and the surrounding area to essentially spend their money with us. There is a movement towards the creation of movie-friendly cities across the country, and we will talk about that idea and what it can mean to Muskogee. So let's dive right in. Our guest on the occasional podcaster today is Bryce Marshall. He is the director of Film Muskogee. What? What's that? Oh, you've never heard of Film Muskogee? Well, it's a good thing you tuned in today because Bryce is going to tell us all about it. Hi, Bryce. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I did not know that there was a Film Muskogee. How did you sneak up on me like that?
Well, we are pretty new. I don't honestly think most people know who we are yet. Every time I talk to a business owner, they're like, who are you? Who are you with? So it's always a fun conversation to have and just kind of tell them about us. Yeah, we actually got all the funding in place for Film Muskogee back in August of 2024 this year. And then the film office itself actually did not open until September 30th. So it's still relatively new. And so we're just trying to get our face out there. I actually introduce myself out there because, again, people don't know who we are. They don't know who I am. It's been a lot of fun to get out there. And
are you a Muskogee native? Did we import you from somewhere? How did you arrive here?
Yeah, so you did have to import me. I'm all the way from Broken Arrow.
Oh, well, that's not too far. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What is your history? What's your education? Obviously, you're enamored with film. Let's tell people who Bryce is.
Yes, sir. So I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I've actually lived in Broken Arrow my entire life. So I went to Broken Arrow High School, did the whole 9 yards there. Actually, what I wanted to do in high school was do sports media. That's actually what I went to college for. I went to TCC right afterwards and got an associate's in arts for sports media. Went on to Oklahoma State University. Was still doing sports media, wanted to do broadcasting. I love being in front of the camera, talking on radio, that whole 9 yards. But at the very end, I started to get a little burnt out because it was more about writing. I like to write some, but not to the degree that they wanted journalists to do. I wanted to be more in front of the camera, not behind, and, be writing stuff. And so there was a graphic designer who actually came to one of our classes, and he was just showing us After Effects and stuff. And I was like, hey, you know what? That's kind of cool. Maybe I'll check that out after he was showing us that. And so I was like, you know what? If things don't work out and I don't go into, journalism at all, I could fall back onto that. I can learn that. I know I can. And so I ended up kind of, looking around for different jobs within journalism. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if TCC has another program for that because, they have relatively low tuition, which is nice. And so they actually did have a program for graphic design, went into that and got my associates in graphic design. And I actually got my first job right after that too. In our capstone class, we had to have an internship, and the internship was with the Tulsa Better Business Bureau. My professor actually taught the vice president there, and so he got my foot in the door, and the rest is history. Went from there, and now I'm here at Film Muskogee.
Now that we know a little bit about Bryce, let's talk a little bit about Film Muskogee. First thing that comes to mind for me is Hollywood.
Right.
But I'm a child of the 50s and 60s, and that's what Hollywood was back in the day. But it is not so much that way anymore. And I know that in general, first it was states, then it was individual cities and communities. I know recently, within the last few years, I retired from the Cherokee Nation, and just as I was leaving their communications department, they were getting plans in place for this state-of-the-art film studio they have just down the road a piece.
Right.
It is amazing how the idea of social media first, followed by independent filmmakers, but everybody has sort of decided that, hey, I can make a movie too. So my uneducated guess is that Film Muskogee is an enterprise designed to aid that and in the process benefit Muskogee?
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both because there is a lot of student filmmakers that have wanted to reach out, or just independent filmmakers. And we definitely want to cater to them too, but we also are trying to bring in Hollywood too. So, if we can bring in big films, honestly, that'd be the best bet, just because, of course, they're going to want to spend more money within our local economy. And that's really what we're all about.
I was going to say, you just said the magic word, money. In the end, almost everything that we do is about making money, funding local government improvements, maintenance. There's probably 24 different ways that all this money gets chopped up and spread out. But so this is a money-making enterprise.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the whole point behind our incentive. We actually just released that yesterday and went public with it. So with the incentive, there's 3 different categories within that. So the cap is $25,000 for feature films, $15,000 cap for TV episodes or TV shows, and then a $5,000 cap for commercials and music videos. And what it's really all around is how much you're willing to spend within the city. So that's whenever you get that rebate. You have to spend at least $7,500 within the city if you want to do a feature film. Then you also have to have a minimum budget. So your minimum budget has to be at least $45,000. So it's not just a student with an iPhone, and they're going to go and get money back. So you have to be able to have funding in place, and then also be willing to spend all that money within the city, and also provide receipts and go through the whole process too.
And as far as spending money within the city and receipts and all that, when you do a film, it is certainly, at least in a broader sense, there is a lot of ancillary services that come along with that. There is the crew, there are the assistants, there are the, oh dear Lord, I don't know what to call them all, but there's a whole tribe of folks that come to town along with the movie camera.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many different jobs that can create too, which it's not a requirement. You don't have to create jobs if you come here, but you're going to have preference. So that is actually on our incentive application at the very bottom. With one of the requirements is if you can actually create jobs for local Muskogee residents, then you're going to get that preference over another project you just put in an application to, because
so if you want to be an extra.
Yep, exactly. If you want to be an extra, if you want to get hired onto the crew, to help with lighting, anything like that.
If you want to learn firsthand what being a grip is all about.
Yep.
There you go. Tell us about your new digs. Now, I have been in this building several times over the years. It has housed many different entities. You are located at 214 West Okmulgee. You're right next to the old Roxy Theater, which again is one of those hidden jewels in the crown of Muskogee. You're giving your office a makeover. What do you envision for this location? It's going to be a sound booth, by any chance?
I don't know about that one. I would like to, but just right now.
Voiceovers, that's a big thing.
Yeah, that is very true. That would be nice. We would like to get a sound booth somewhere built within the city. It wouldn't be at my office.
See, I'm thinking I could consult for you.
You might be able to. We might be able to make it happen. But right now, just with the office revamp, we're just trying to make it where whenever people come in, they can just feel the world of film. So right now on the back wall behind you, we have all the different films that have actually been filmed within Oklahoma that have made it to the silver screen. We're trying to do all that. And then once we actually have more films within the city of Muskogee itself, I'll actually start putting those on the wall and try to have the cast and crew sign it. And so whenever someone comes in, they're like, oh, you know what? I didn't even know that was filmed here. That's awesome. I would love to have my poster up on the wall too. And that can kind of create that conversation too. And we have a whole window over here outside of the office that has the display case. And we're trying to fill that up with all kinds of different things. Oscar Ray, the operations manager at the Roxy, he was like, oh, I have so much stuff that I can give you.
And that's another thing. Being right next door to the Roxy has to be beneficial, especially since it kind of gives you quick access to Oscar and Sharon Butterfly.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's very nice to talk with both of them. They always have a lot of great ideas, and it's awesome getting to talk to them about the Oklahoma Movie Hall of Fame. And Oscar was actually just asking me a couple weeks ago if I'd help him choose some different people to be inducted. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'd be honored. I'd love to kind of go through the list. He said he has like over 1,200 different people that are born and raised here in Oklahoma, and he said that, there's so many people we have to induct, but we can only do so many, and I'd love to have your help with it. So I was pretty honored and pretty excited to be a part of that.
In putting this office together, this service for the city, is this modeled on other existing entities and other communities around Oklahoma?
It is. That's actually, I believe, where they got the idea from it, because there's 37 film-friendly cities within Oklahoma, but not all of them have incentives. Bethany, Yukon, Oklahoma City. Tulsa is actually working on one right now. I guess they actually offered.
I would have thought they already had it.
That's what I thought too.
I've been watching Sylvester Stallone, with his Tulsa thing going going on.
Right. That's what I thought too. I actually talked with Meg Gould over there at the Tulsa Film Office yesterday, and I said, "Oh, you guys already have an incentive, right?" And she was like, "No, we actually only had a little bit of funds from the COVID funds we had, and I guess they only did it for maybe a year or two. I'm not sure exactly how that all worked out. But she said they're trying to get more funds and offer an incentive that way too. And then there's also the Cherokee Film Commission as well that has their own incentive and their own different parameters with it. And
I'm a proud citizen of the Cherokee Nation, as I mentioned before, and it just seems like they glommed onto this movie business really quickly and just dove in with both feet.
It's amazing what they've done over there. They have, I know, 2 full studios, a sound booth, and they just partnered with Amazon to start offering classes. I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing to see how far they've came.
Technology, it's a wonderful thing.
Yep, sure is.
I'm Greg Mashburn, the occasional podcaster. Our guest today, Bryce Marshall, as we talk about the new film office in Muskogee. And we'll be right back after this little bit of shameless self-promotion. I'm Greg Mashburn, and I am the occasional podcaster. You know, I produce this podcast as a community service, and I have no sponsors, nor do I charge guests to appear. I cover production and web hosting costs out of my own pocket. Now, a cup of coffee from the local coffee shop will set you back a minimum of $5, and in just a few minutes, it's gone. That same $5, the cost of a single cup of cold brew or a latte, would help me to continue these podcasts. If you like what you're listening to today and you feel like you can make a small donation to help defray expenses for the occasional podcaster, then please visit my website, occasionalpodcaster.com, click on the coffee cup in the lower left-hand corner of the page, and make a small donation to my secure PayPal account. And it's okay if you prefer not to. Whatever you choose, please continue to listen to the occasional podcaster. And please tell all your friends about us. I'm Greg Mashburn, the occasional podcaster. We are in the midst of a visit with Bryce Marshall, the director of Film Muskogee. Bryce, we took the first part of the conversation and talked about you and the inception of the new office, but let's talk a little bit about Muskogee, what it has to offer potential users of your service. I know that you and I first met a couple of weeks ago when I showed you through the old Masonic Temple here in Muskogee. Mm-hmm. I take it you've been doing some footwork and visiting historic places or potential places for filming.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's actually going to be one of our main things we're going to put on YouTube, is actually going to different locations all throughout the city of Muskogee and talking with either a point of contact or the business owner themselves and just say, hey, why would this be a great film location? And the first episode of that will actually be at the Roxy Theater. Since we're next door to them, easiest transition to do, and we'll kind of ask Oscar Ray over there to tell us more about the theater and kind of walk us through why it would be a great film location, what kind of genre movie we'd like to see over there. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely a lot of locations here that I think people don't really know a lot about, or maybe the history behind it too.
Okay, so we've mentioned the Masonic Temple, we've mentioned the Roxy. What would be another name for that list?
I know it's not necessarily historical, but I'm also extremely excited about the Arrowhead Mall. It's basically empty right now.
Yes.
So there's a lot of potential for filmmakers to use it, and I know they would enjoy the money because obviously there's no one there. And I know there's also an abandoned theater within it too, which I was told by management there, they've actually ripped out the screens and all the chairs there, which is kind of disappointing. But I'm very excited about that, and I've actually been reaching out to them over and over again because I'd really like to talk to the manager there, but I guess he's always in and out of the office. But I think that'd be a great location because there's so much potential there. There's so much empty space. I don't think you'd have a lot of hindrance from anyone who's still there. They'd be like, oh, you know what? Welcome in the crew. I think they'd be super easy to work with.
I have discussed this just as a quick aside with a couple of my podcasting friends. It would be great, and I know they exist in larger locations. Mm-hmm. It would be great to have a by the hour sound booth or audio video facility. Mm-hmm. You want to do a video podcast, but you don't have room. You don't have a bedroom at home to convert.
Right.
Come rent a little space from us for a couple of hours. We got green screen. We have sets. We can do digital. I mean, that's a great business idea for somebody. I'm too damn old, but
you're never too old.
For somebody, that's a great idea to think about and invest in. I know these kinds of production centers by the hour exist in larger communities. Mm-hmm. I know that Spotify, Riverside, many of the companies that cater to podcasters and independent producers provide these services in larger cities, and you can also access them online digitally. What an idea. What a potential moneymaker for somebody.
Yeah, I think it definitely should happen around here, and I think if we're going to really dive into the world of film, I think that's going to be something that's necessary around here, because like we've talked about, Cherokee Film has their own sound booth and their whole studio and everything like that, and I've already talked to them about our location. It was like, hey, do you guys have a sound booth? And I'm like, no, unfortunately, no. So they'd have to either use Cherokee Film or go down to Tulsa or Oklahoma City or something in the time being. So I think if we could really implement that here in the city, it'd be great. There's actually a whole office space above us that we don't actually own. So if we're actually able to get ownership of that, we could easily put a sound booth up there. There's plenty of room, or even expand the Roxy, do something with it. So I think it'd be more welcome for people to use.
Do you have a list of customers that you would like to go after? I mean, do you have an idea for who you would offer this service to first, or are you just going to throw it out there?
Right now, I honestly just would throw it out there just because a lot of people still haven't really reached out, but I think it's also because they don't really know who we are yet. We've had a lot more buzz with the film incentive just going out yesterday. Whenever we did a press release for the office itself, we had maybe a couple people reach out, but we've already had way more interest in the office itself because of the incentive, because people have asked about it, but we didn't have all the numbers ready. So now that we have numbers and they know that they can spend some money here and then get some money back, I think it'll definitely interest some more people, and getting more buzz on social media, talking to more news outlets, talking with you, of course, too, is going to be very helpful in getting the word out. And I think it'll attract a lot more people that way.
So you're in the process of ramping up. Do you have an idea or a target date that this facility, this office, will be fully operational and ready to go?
I'd say easily by the end of the year. At the latest, honestly, I think it could even be done within a couple of weeks. I mean, all the applications are basically already done. There's just some groundwork that needs to be done as far as our website.
Speaking of the website, you do have a Facebook presence. You have email. You've got a phone number. You want to toss your contact information out there for us?
Yeah, for sure. So again, my name is Bryce Marshall, and you can contact me at 918-912-7028 is my direct line. I'll also have a work cell phone within a week or two, and we can always plug that in at some point as well.
And as we said earlier, you're down here on West Okmulgee, next door to the Roxy Theater. Everybody knows where the Roxy is.
Yes,
you got
sir.
the best address in town, pal.
Right.
We mentioned social media. You have a Facebook page, which is?
It's just Film Muskogee. That's just the name of it.
Okay.
We also have an Instagram. Also, if you just look us up, it's just Film Muskogee, and you can find us. It should be hopefully the first one that pops up for you guys.
Okay, so Film Muskogee is the search item.
Yep.
It'll get to you every way possible.
Yep, on all social media besides TikTok. That's the one we're missing.
So if somebody has either an idea for a project, and again, this is not your basic home movie kind of stuff. This is full goose bozo movie making.
Yep.
You can help from A to Z, soup to nuts, however you want to define it.
Yep. Yes, sir. You can email me at bryce@visitmuskogee.com. If you have any kind of questions, you can always email me. Our application, whenever you go to filmfriendlymuskogee.com right now, underneath the drop-down tab, you'll see that incentive application. Right now, it's just an interactive PDF, so whenever you click it, it opens up in a new window. You can fill it all out there, and then you can actually email it to me. I'll take a look at it, and I'll contact you from there.
Okay. Before we go, as we mentioned earlier, there's a 4-step process that you have in place for money, for financing, for all things financial and location-wise and whatnot. Why don't you go over that for us again?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so it is a 4-step process like we discussed. The first process is actually a project intake form. So there's nothing fancy about it. It's just going to be your contact information. You tell me what kind of project that you're working on, how to get a hold of you, all that good stuff. You'll send that over to me. It actually will be an online form whenever we have our new website up. That'll just be an online form that you can just interact through there. Right now, it's just going to be a paper copy, or we'll also have that on our website as well. Whenever you send that to me, just through email, I'll take a look at it. If everything looks like it would be something that'd be interesting for Muskogee, I'll give you a call. And actually, the second step will actually be scouting different locations within Muskogee itself. That's actually the second step before you actually get to the incentive application itself. We have to spend at least a minimum day of looking around different locations within the city of Muskogee. Or it doesn't even have to be the city of Muskogee. It could be Muskogee County. It's not required to just shoot in within the city. You can also go into the county, because then it also overlaps into the Cherokee Film Commission. And they also have their own incentives. So you can technically get 2 incentives, possibly even 3 3 incentives if you want to apply for the state incentive, which is, of course, going to spend a lot more money. But again, it comes down to your budget.
Boom, there's a triple crown right there.
Yeah, you can have a triple crown going on. So if you find some locations that you really like and you say, hey, you know what, I want to go ahead and submit an application for the incentive, you can go ahead and send all that information over to me. And then after that, that's when you'll start your principal photography, all that kind of stuff. If you're going through with it, and I approve it, of course, you're going to provide all the receipts that you spent within the city, because that's the main requirement, is you spending some money within the local economy.
And that's a point that we kind of brushed over. I mean, we made a slight mention of it, but this also means some instant infusion of capital into many Muskogee businesses, lodgings, motels, hotels, restaurants, other sorts of services. This could be, I mean, it's not going to make us billionaires overnight, but it is certainly substantial income for a time period while the crew is here that local merchants can realize.
Yeah, and that's really what it's all about, is just trying to boost the local economy. Also tourism within the location or within the area. So, because I mean, if you go to a different location and a movie's been shot there, people are probably going to flock there, because especially if it's like their favorite movie or their favorite TV show, and say, hey, you know, I sat in the same seat that Leonardo DiCaprio sat out, just for instance, or Sylvester Stallone, whoever it is that comes to town, and they'll be very excited to come and visit Muskogee and check it out. And I think that's what it's really all about, is just more tourism. We want to boost the local economy. I'd also love to see a lot of the businesses that have left and all the abandoned buildings that we unfortunately do have actually get renovated. Even if there's not a business necessarily that comes back, to see those businesses either come back or actually see the abandoned buildings get renovated and look brand new again.
And you know, there's a great start down here. I mean, you know, the coffee shop and the attendant boutique shops and everything along Main Street. It's not a lot, but it's certainly encouraging.
Oh yeah, but so you have to start somewhere. I don't expect anything to change overnight, but as long as we're still making progress as time goes on, I think that's what really counts.
I'm Greg Mashburn, the occasional podcaster. Our guest today has been Bryce Marshall. He is the director of Film Muskogee. If you are interested in more about this particular subject or what Bryce does, just search Film Muskogee. It's all that you got to do, because all of the essential contacts, social media, everything you need to know will pop up from that search. Bryce, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
We wish you good luck, and we will chat again.
All right. Sounds great.
Is your club, organization, or civic group planning a community positive event or fundraiser? Would you like some free publicity for your event? If you have an idea for a future episode of The Occasional Podcaster, let us know. We feature discussions with people and groups promoting community positive events. Send your idea to our email, occasionalpodcaster@gmail.com. To learn more and listen to previous episodes, visit our website, occasionalpodcaster.com, and be sure to send your idea and contact information to occasionalpodcaster@gmail.com. Who knows? Your idea just might be the next episode of The Occasional Podcaster.
And that's a wrap. We want to thank Bryce Marshall, the director of the newly created Film Muskogee office, devoted to attracting major movie projects to Muskogee. And I want to thank you for being a listener and hopefully a supporter of the Occasional Podcaster. As you probably know by now, all previous episodes of my program are on my website. You can listen to them at occasionalpodcaster.com. They can also be found on Spotify, Apple, nearly anywhere you find your podcasts. Just go to your favorite podcast provider and search for The Occasional Podcaster. Now, if you have an idea for a future episode, let us know. Visit the website, leave a message on the comment page, or just send an email to occasionalpodcaster@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and who knows, your idea might be the next episode of The Occasional Podcaster.